I just wanted to address a YouTube video I saw last night that had 16,000 likes, 400,000 views. It's probably 400,000 more than this video will get. But it said the two things you need in order to be able to read music are to identify notes on the staff and to know your intervals. Didn't even say anything about rhythm. But the thing is, even those two things about pitch are not going to help you learn to read music. They correlate with good music reading. Many people who know how to read music do know the notes on the staff and they do know their intervals. But those two things are not going to help you learn. And I just wanted to speak to those two things. The first thing, identifying notes on the staff and then attempting to associate that with pitches on the keyboard. What needs to happen is associating those pitches, the symbols on paper, with your sound vocabulary, your vocabulary of tonal patterns. So trying to associate the symbols with the keyboard, understand that that's not a musical endeavor at all. And it doesn't allow you the advantage of your wonderful hearing skills to learn to read. It's kind of like attempting to learn a new language just by sounding out letters, not by having a vocabulary of that language. So in music, we call the pitch relationships and the way they're related to a resting tone in a tonality context, the smallest unit of meaning is the tonal pattern. It's like a word. Another problem with just thinking of identifying the pitches on the staff that it'll help you read is if you take a song like Happy Birthday, if I'm playing in the key of F, then the melody starts on C, C, B, C. But, that's one of 12 keys I can play it in. What if I want to play it in the key of B flat? Well, now it starts on F, and G. If you're stuck with the way you learned it in that one keyality, reading those two particular pitches, you're limited. It's not those pitches that make Happy Birthday. It's the tonal patterns and the rhythm patterns, which I'll talk about in another video. But the tonal patterns are the sound of that song, not the symbols on the page. And to the other point about knowing intervals. Again, intervals don't give you all the context that you need to understand music. For example, the melody of Happy Birthday starts with the interval of a second. That's a second. Well, guess what? That's also a second. Sounds pretty different though, doesn't it? That's another second. That's a second. That's a second. That's a second. There's seconds all over the place. So just being able to recognize seconds doesn't help you. Tonal patterns will help you because when naming tonal patterns, we use tonal syllables that do speak to the different sounds of the different kinds of intervals depending on their tonality context. Sol, la, sol, do, ti, re, do, do, ti, ti, la, fa, mi, re, do. All those seconds have different names when we use tonal solfege with movable resting tone. If you want to learn to read music, learn tonal patterns. This is based on research, the research of music learning theory, and it's based on my experience of teaching all the ways that I see so many creators on YouTube and TikTok using. I taught the wrong ways for 15 years. In the last 5 years, I've gotten hip to the research and found what will really help, and it's learning tonal patterns. And since there's not a widely available way for people to learn tonal patterns, for you to learn tonal patterns, I created one. My course, Play and Sing in Harmony, will have you learn a vocabulary of tonal patterns, and that can become your vocabulary of music that you can read.